Welcome back. My name is Dak, and today we are reading the Boy Scout Handbook 11th edition. We are on the last chapter, chapter 19, so if you've made it along this way, well done. This is the last video in this series. We're going to be finishing this chapter and talking about the very beginning, so know the end from the beginning. All right, history, be prepared. The Boy Scouts of America. Let's go. Chapter 19. Renowned artist Norman Rockwell painted many pictures of Scouts in action. His images appeared on the covers of the 3rd, 4th, 6th, and 9th editions of the Boy Scout Handbook. History of the Boy Scouts of America. An early Boy Scout uniform and handbook. Ooh, that looks old. Scouting came to America because a boy did a good turn, an act of kindness for which he expected no reward. It happened many years ago on the foggy streets of London, England, when an American named William D. Boyce lost his way. A boy walked up and asked if he could be of assistance. Mr. Boyce explained where he wanted to go. The boy led him to his destination, but when Mr. Boyce offered to give him some money, the boy said, "No, thank you, sir. I am a scout. I won't take anything for helping." William Boyce was so impressed by the boy's kindness that he met with Lord Robert Baden-Powell, the founder of the Boy Scouts in Great Britain. He liked what Baden-Powell told him, and he knew that boys in the United States would want to be scouts too. On February 8, 1910, Mr. Boyce and a group of businessmen, educators, and political leaders founded the Boy Scouts of America. Scouts celebrated February 8th as the birthday of the BSA. No one knows what happened to the boy who guided Mr. Boyce through the London fog, but he will never be forgotten. Like many acts of kindness, what was done proved to be far more significant than who did it. The boy's good turn helped bring scouting to America. All right, so if this is a true story, I feel like modern day people would track this down. I feel like the internet would be like, okay, 1910, what are the records? Lord Baden-Powell has Boy Scouts in Great Britain, so we have to know that there's a boy in this time who's in London, who's around at night, and do a sequence of detective work to figure this out. Comment below, has this been solved? Maybe I should Google it. Do we know who this young man is? I bet we do. I bet there's someone that's tracked this down, or at least created a list of possible individuals and what happened to him. I'd love to see a top 10 possible young men or probable young men that fit that description. Baden-Powell's scouting's founder. Robert Baden-Powell was a general in the British Army who became famous for his leadership during the Boer War in South Africa between Britain and the descendants of Dutch settlers, the Boers. After the war, Baden-Powell wanted to use his fame to help boys become better men and to have fun while they were doing it. In 1907, Baden-Powell invited a group of boys to Brownsea Island off the coast of England to attend the world's first Boy Scout camp. Its success led them to write a book called Scouting for Boys. Thousands of boys read it and wanted to join the new organization. Scouting spread like wildfire throughout England and before long around the world. Baden-Powell's Scouting for Boys helped launch the scouting movement. Scouting's early leaders. Lord Robert Baden-Powell. In 1907, Lord Robert Baden-Powell founded the Boy Scout movement in Great Britain. Ernest Thompson Seton. As the first chief scout of the Boy Scouts of America, Mr. Seton made nature study an important part of the scouting program. Daniel Carter Beard, a woodsman in a buckskin shirt, Uncle Dan, helped establish the outdoor skills that are still at the heart of Boy Scouting. James E. West. Mr. West was a dedicated leader who guided the Boy Scouts of America for over 30 years as it grew into a vigorous national organization. I feel like for me, I'm going to add a fifth person here. I know these are early leaders, but more contemporary. For me, the leader was President Thomas S. Monson. I feel like he was the drive for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to stay. He loved Boy Scouting. He was huge into it. I feel like as long as he was prophet, we're never going to leave. It was only after his death that the church left. But yeah, I feel like for me, he would be my go-to for modern day example of who was a scout leader at a international level when I was a young man. The Boy Scout Handbook. Baden-Powell's British Scouts had Scouting for Boys as their manual, but American Boy Scouts needed a guidebook of their own. Ernest Thompson Seton, a well-known author, artist, and wildlife expert, wrote the first edition of the Boy Scouts of America Handbook for Boys in 1911. It was packed with information about camping, hiking, swimming, wildlife, and other subjects. Mr. Seton knew boys would like the book also explained how to form troops and patrols and listed all the requirements for Boy Scout ranks and merit badges. The BSA has revised the handbook every 8 or 9 years to include the latest information about scouting and outdoor adventures. The handbook you are reading is the 11th edition, written to carry scouting well into the 21st century. Nearly 40 million copies of the Boy Scout Handbook have been printed since 1911, making it one of the most popular books of all time. Yeah, I think that's all probably well and true. I would be shocked at how many boys actually read it. I feel like it was a thing that they all were given, but like me, what I'm doing, sitting down and reading it cover to cover. I mean, I was a Boy Scout camp counselor. I was Order of the Arrow. I was, in it. Never did this. This is, I'm, 20 years removed from being a Boy Scout, and now I'm finally sitting down and doing it more just for nostalgia reasons. But I wonder how many actually sat down and read it all the way through. I also wonder what those earlier editions, maybe I should go back and read them. I feel like this is chock full of legalese about don't do certain things and just a lot of modern day warnings and labels that you wouldn't see in earlier editions. Boy's Life magazine. In 1912, the Boy Scouts of America began publishing a magazine called Boy's Life. Today, Boy's Life is received by 1.3 million scouts every month. Each issue is filled with terrific stories, camping hints, and information for patrols and troops. Again, I would be shocked if this is still in circulation. Boy's Life, I mean, there might be an electronic one, a website, that's dedicated to it, but I'd be shocked if they were still producing. I mean, print media has struggled so much. I imagine something like this would have been discontinued in the 2000s. Boy Scout service. Service to others has always been a central part of scouting. During World War I, Boy Scouts throughout the country collected paper and metal for recycling and sold bonds to raise money for the war effort. In 1916, the United States Congress showed its thanks by granting the Boy Scouts of America a special congressional charter. Scouts today carry on this tradition of service in their homes, communities, and nation by gathering food and other clothing for needy neighbors, building playgrounds, and repairing parks and public buildings. They assist fire and police departments, aid disaster victims, and clean up after storms. Many scouts also complete conservation work that protects and restores the land. The service projects required for different BSA ranks remind scouts of the importance of contributing their time and energy to worthwhile efforts. Recycling efforts allow scouts to practice community service as they learn about wisely using natural resources. And in support of the President's Summit for America's Future held in 1997, the Boy Scouts of America committed each youth member to provide a minimum of 12 hours of community service annually through the year 2000. This will result in a total of 200 million hours of community service rendered by the BSA and its youth. The BSA Crime Prevention Program was created to use the collective resources of our youth, adult membership, law enforcement agencies, and the community to address the problems of crime in our communities. Yeah, this is another example. I would be shocked if BSA Crime Watch is still a thing. That sounds like a lot of liability. The artwork of Joseph Castari reflected the excitement and meaning of scouting in the 1970s and 1980s. The Scouting Family of Opportunities. In addition to Boy Scouting, the BSA has developed programs for young people of different ages and interests. Cub Scouting, started in 1930, offers exciting activities for younger boys. Tiger Cubs, BSA, is for first grade boys and their parents or guardians. Boys in the second and third, or ages 8 and 9, are Cub Scouts. 4th and 5th grades for boys who are 10 can join a Weeblo's Den that prepares them to be members of a Boy Scout troop. Varsity Scouting, which began in 1978, allows older boys to add to their scouting experience by forming teams that take part in sports events and challenging outdoor adventures. Venturing is a program for young men and women ages 14 through 20. Venturing traces its origin to Sea Scouting, begun in 1912 as a branch of the BSA for older boys. Eventually it became Senior Scouting and then Exploring, and in 1998, Venturing was created. Venturing crews often choose an area of special interest such as sailing, mountaineering, youth ministry, sports, the outdoors, and or arts/hobbies. I feel like that has completely changed over the years. I don't know what it is now, but I'm sure this is outdated. Lone Scouting. The Lone Scouts of America was founded by William Boyce to provide scouting experiences for boys living in sparsely populated areas of the country. Mr. Boyce's organization merged with the Boy Scouts of America in 1924. Today, the Lone Scout plan serves boys who cannot take part in the activities of a Boy Scout troop on a regular basis because of distance, disability, or other unavoidable factors. The Direct Service Council was established to make scouting available to U.S. citizens and their dependents who live in countries outside this jurisdiction of the Transatlantic Council and the Far East Council, the BSA's two overseas councils. It is administered by the BSA's International Division at the National Office in Irving, Texas. More than 4,500 youth members and 1,700 adult members belong to over 140 District Service Council units or are registered as Lone Scouts in isolated areas of the world. The program of the Direct Service Council units is basically the same as that in the U.S., with some modifications when necessary due to circumstances and customs within a given country. From its beginnings with a good turn by an unknown scout to the present day with millions of members across the nation, the Boy Scouts of America has had an exciting history. Now that you are a scout, the future of the BSA depends in part upon you. What you put into scouting will help you shape the organization in the years ahead. In return, scouting will help you shape yourself into the person you want to become. All right, so we are done now. Read all 19 chapters. The rest of the book is just the requirements. This is where I think most youth probably spent their time. What do I actually have to do this stuff? And we've covered them all in the previous chapters, and you'll see this version on Internet Archive already has some of them filled out. That's what they might have looked like. This youth, it looks like they stopped at second class, never really finished. Maybe they did nothing here for first class, nothing for star, nothing for life, nothing for Eagle Scout. I remember reviewing these pages in depth. My book is, I spent a lot of time reading word for word this stuff and just trying to get it. Why? Because my goal was this, getting to the Eagle Scout. Once you got your Eagle Scout award, that was when you had done it. You had got what anyone wanted to know about it. And then this was like the extra stuff, Eagle Palm stuff. Here's your credits, index, all that type stuff, which I'm not going to cover at this point. Why? Because we finished the book. All right, if you've stayed along this long, thank you so much for listening to this. This was a fun project of mine to read the entire Boy Scout Handbook 11th edition. Feel free to comment below. What do you think? Did I miss something? Was I too harsh? Was I too critical? Did I not? Was I overly generous? Were there things that I should have said more about? Feel free to comment, like, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Give advice on what I should do next if you see a different project I should do. All right, really appreciate your time. Thanks for listening. Take care. See you next time.